The bridge of the Kethvar dreadnought Eternal Dominion hummed with the quiet efficiency of a war machine that had never known defeat. Commander Vexthal stood before the massive viewport, his 6 arms folded behind his back in a traditional posture of contemplation. The blue-green marble of the third planet hung before them like a jewel against the darkness, its surface swirled with white clouds that seemed almost peaceful from this distance. "Preliminary scans complete, Commander," reported Navigation Officer Kissera, her voice carrying the crisp authority of someone who had overseen the conquest of 17 worlds. Population approximately 8 billion. Primitive fusion technology, chemical propulsion, basic energy weapons. No void shield detected. Vexthal's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. 8 billion souls, and not one of them capable of mounting a defense that could scratch the hull of even their smallest escort vessel. It was almost disappointing. The thrill of conquest had dulled over the centuries, each new world falling with such predictable ease that the Empire had begun to view expansion as mere administrative duty. "Technological assessment?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Classification 7. Came to respond from Science Officer Thaindis. Barely above stone tools by our standards. They've achieved basic spaceflight within their own system, but their largest vessels are smaller than our maintenance pods. We're detecting what appears to be a primitive defense network of satellites and space stations, but nothing that could penetrate our outer hull." The commander's primary eyes focused on the planet below, while his secondary pair monitored the tactical displays surrounding him. The bridge crew moved with practiced precision, their forms adapted for void warfare over millions of years of evolution. Tall and lean, with elongated limbs and redundant organ systems, the Kethvar were born for the emptiness between stars. Communications. Open a channel to the planet's surface. Standard conquest protocol. Communications Officer Yelnetha's fingers danced across crystalline control surfaces, sending signals to a quantum relay network that connected the Empire's vast territory. Within moments, primitive radio and quantum signals flooded toward the blue world below. "Channel open, Commander. Broadcasting on all frequencies they appear to monitor." Vexthal straightened, his voice carrying the weight of authority earned through 2 centuries of successful campaigns. "Inhabitants of the third planet, I am Commander Vexthal of the Kethvar Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our domain. You have one of your planetary rotations to surrender unconditionally. Lay down your arms, disable your defenses, and prepare for occupation. Compliance will result in minimal casualties and integration into our civilization. Resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your biosphere. Choose wisely." The transmission cut, leaving the bridge in familiar silence. This was the moment Vexthal had witnessed countless times, the pause before inevitability, when a species faced the reality of their own insignificance. Some begged, some threatened, some simply went silent. None had ever chosen to fight. "Commander," Kessera's voice carried a note of curiosity. "We're receiving a response." "Display it." The main screen flickered to life, showing a human face. The creature was smaller than the Kethvar, with only 2 arms and primitive binocular vision. Its skin was pale, marked with lines that suggested either age or stress, and its small eyes held something that made Vexthal's combat instincts stir uneasily. "I am Secretary General Chin of the United Earth Defense Council," the human said, its voice calm despite the obvious primitiveness of the species. "We have received your ultimatum and considered our response." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Most species required hours or days to organize any kind of coherent reply. This one had responded within minutes. "We decline your offer," Secretary General Chin continued. "Humanity has never bowed to tyranny, and we will not start now. We know we cannot match your technology, but we will defend our world with everything we have." Vexthal's mandibles clicked in genuine surprise. "You understand that resistance is futile? Our weapons can crack continents. Our shields can withstand anything you possess." "We understand perfectly," Chin replied. "But understanding the odds has never stopped us before. We spent our entire history fighting impossible wars against impossible enemies. You're just another one." The transmission ended, leaving the Kethvar bridge in stunned silence. In over 300 years of conquest, No species had ever responded with such casual acceptance of their own destruction. Tactical assessment, Vexthal ordered, his voice harder now. They're mobilizing everything they have, reported Tactical Officers Rendar. Primitive spacecraft, orbital platforms, ground-based missile systems. It's actually quite impressive for their technology level, but ultimately irrelevant. Very well. Prepare for standard pacification protocol. Target their population centers, but leave infrastructure intact. We'll need the industrial capacity. Commander! Cassera's voice carried a note of urgency. Multiple contacts approaching from the inner system. Fast movers, accelerating at impossible rates. Impossible rates? Sir, they're pulling over 400 gravities. No biological creature should be able to survive that acceleration. Vexthal turned to study the tactical display. Dozens of small contacts raced toward his fleet, their acceleration curves defying everything the Empire knew about the limitations of carbon-based life. Are they unmanned? Unknown, sir. But they're coming fast, and they're not slowing down. The commander's combat instincts, honed over centuries of warfare, began to whisper warnings. Something was wrong. Something fundamental about this entire situation fell off in ways he couldn't articulate. Prepare defensive measures. And send a message to the planet. This is their final warning. The first human vessel struck the Kethvar defensive perimeter exactly 18 minutes after the final ultimatum expired. They came in fast and low, their primitive metal hulls gleaming in the light of the system's star. To the seasoned warriors aboard the Eternal Dominion, they looked like toys, crude, angular constructions that seemed more suited to atmospheric flight than void combat. Contact in 30 seconds, reported Drendar, his voice carrying the bored confidence of someone who had witnessed this dance too many times. First wave consists of approximately 200 small craft. No energy signatures consistent with effective weaponry. Vexthal watched the tactical display with growing unease. The human vessels weren't behaving like any attacking force he'd ever encountered. They maintained perfect formation despite accelerating at rates that should have liquefied their crews. Their approach vector was aggressive to the point of being suicidal, aimed directly at the center of the Kethvar battle line. Sir, Cassera's voice carried a note of professional concern. They're not decelerating. At their current speed, they'll impact our shields in 15 seconds. Impact. Vexthal's mandibles clicked in confusion. Are they attempting some kind of ramming attack? Unknown, sir, but they're definitely not slowing down. The commander had seen kamikaze tactics before, though rarely from space-capable civilizations. Typically, such desperation tactics were the last resort of ground-based offenders. But these humans were accelerating their crewed vessels towards certain death with what appeared to be calculated precision. Activate point defense systems. Destroy them before they can. The first human vessel exploded against the Eternal Dominion's forward shields in a flash of white light that temporarily overwhelmed the bridge's optical filters. The explosion was followed immediately by another, then another, as the entire first wave of human craft detonated in rapid succession. Damage report, Vexthal ordered, though he already knew the answer. The shields hadn't even flickered. No damage to fleet assets, Srendar confirmed. The humans appear to have destroyed themselves for no tactical gain. But even as the words left his mouth, the tactical officer's expression changed. Sir, we're detecting an energy surge from the planet's surface. Multiple launch signatures. How many? Thousands, sir. They're launching everything they have. The main screen shifted to show Earth's surface, where brilliant columns of fire rose from launch facilities across multiple continents. The planet's industrial capacity was being converted into a desperate last stand, throwing everything capable of reaching orbit into the void. Estimated arrival time? Staggered waves over the next 6 hours. Sir, with respect, this is becoming tedious. Request permission to begin planetary bombardment. Vexthal considered the request. Standard doctrine called for overwhelming force in response to resistance, but something about the humans' behavior nagged at him. They had to know their attacks were useless. They had to understand that their technology was inferior by orders of magnitude, yet they continued to throw their people and resources into certain death. Negative. I want to see what they're planning. Continue defensive measures only. The second wave arrived an hour later, larger than the first, but equally primitive. These vessels were bulkier, clearly designed for cargo rather than combat, but they approached with the same suicidal determination. They detonated against the shields in brilliant cascades of light and radiation, achieving nothing but their own destruction. Commander, Dis reported from the science station, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the debris. These vessels appear to be carrying some kind of exotic matter. Exotic matter? Yes, sir. Extremely dense, with properties I don't recognize. It's as if they're using their own vessels as delivery systems for some kind of experimental material. The third wave brought a different class of vessel entirely. These were sleek, obviously military, and they moved with the precision of professional warriors. But they, too, flew directly into the shields without attempting to fire their weapons. Sir, Yelnetha's voice carried excitement. We're receiving another transmission from planet. Display it. Secretary General Chen appeared on the screen again, but this time he was dressed in military uniform. Behind him, Vexthal could see what appeared to be a command center filled with humans working at primitive displays. Commander Vexthal, Chen said, his voice carrying the same disturbing calm as before, I hope you're enjoying our welcoming party. We wanted to make sure you understood exactly what you're dealing with. You're throwing away your people's lives for no purpose, Vexthal replied. Your attacks have accomplished nothing. Haven't they? Chen smiled, and something in that expression made the commander's combat instinct scream warnings. Tell me, Commander, how many of our vessels have you destroyed? All of them. Every single one has been obliterated against our shields. Exactly. And what happened to the energy from those impacts? Vexthal paused, his tactical mind racing. Energy couldn't be destroyed, only converted. The kinetic energy of a human vessels, combined with their exotic matter payloads, had to go somewhere. Dis, full spectrum analysis of our shield grid. Now, the science officer's fingers flew across his controls, and his expression grew increasingly alarmed. Sir, I'm detecting microscopic variations in shield harmonics. The impacts are creating resonance patterns. Resonance patterns? Yes, sir. Each impact is perfectly timed to amplify the previous one. It's as if they're tuning our shields like a musical instrument. The fourth wave arrived with clockwork precision, and this time Vexthal watched the tactical display with growing horror. The humans weren't trying to break through the shields. They were trying to understand them, to map their frequencies and harmonics with each suicidal attack. They're learning, he whispered, the words barely audible above the bridge's ambient noise. Sir, Kessera's voice carried confusion. They're not trying to destroy us. They're studying us. Every attack is a probe, a test. They're gathering data. The fifth wave brought the largest vessels yet, massive constructions that dwarfed even the humans' previous attempts. They detonated against the shields with such force that the Eternal Dominion actually shuddered, its massive bulk shifting slightly in response to the impact. Shield integrity holding at 97%, Zrendar reported, but his voice lacked its previous confidence. Commander, Dis's voice carried urgency. I'm detecting something. The resonance patterns are reaching critical frequency. If they continue at this rate. What? Sir, they're not trying to break our shields. They're trying to turn them into a weapon. The revelation hit the bridge like a physical blow. Vexthal's secondary eyes focused on the tactical display, while his primary pair remained fixed on the main screen, where Secretary General Chen's face wore an expression of patient satisfaction. Impossible, Zrendar breathed, his voice carrying the hollow tone of someone whose fundamental understanding of reality had just collapsed. Shield technology doesn't work that way. The harmonics are specifically designed to prevent weaponization. Show me the resonance patterns, Vexthal ordered, his voice cutting through the bridge's stunned silence. The tactical display shifted, revealing a complex waveform that pulsed with each human impact. What had begun as random noise 6 hours ago now showed distinct patterns, mathematical progressions that spoke of careful calculation rather than desperate chaos. They're building something, Dis reported, his scanner readings feeding directly into the display. Each impact adds another layer to the harmonic structure. It's like they're constructing a weapon using our own defensive systems as components. And they learned to do this in 6 hours? No, sir. The science officer's voice carried a note of growing horror. Analysis of the impact patterns suggests they understood our shield technology before they began their attacks. This entire assault has been calculated from the beginning. Vexthal felt something cold settle in his stomach. The humans had studied them, learned their capabilities, and devised a strategy that used the Empire's own technological superiority against them. It was a level of tactical innovation that should have been impossible for such a primitive species. Yelnev, get me a direct channel to the human commander. Now! The communication officer's fingers danced across his controls, and within moments Chen's face reappeared on the main screen. Behind him, the command center showed increased activity, with humans working at stations that seemed to pulse with new energy. Commander Vexthal, Chen said, his voice carrying the same unsettling calm. I trust you begin to understand the situation. What are you? Vexthal asked, abandoning all pretense of diplomatic protocol. What kind of species develops technology like this? The kind that's been fighting wars for 10,000 years, Chen replied. The kind that's learned to turn every disadvantage into an advantage. The kind that's discovered how to make the impossible routine. Your technology is primitive. Your vessels are crude. You shouldn't be capable of this level of strategic thinking. Chen's smile widened, and for the first time since the engagement began, Vexthal saw genuine emotion in the human's eyes. It was pride, but it was also something else. Something that made his combat instincts scream warnings. Commander, do you know what humans do when faced with superior technology? Surrender? We study it. We learn it. We improve it. And then we use it better than the people who created it. Chen leaned forward, his eyes focusing directly on Vexthal. We've been monitoring your communication for months. We've analyzed your ship designs, your energy signatures, your tactical doctrines. We know more about Kefvar technology than most of your own engineers. Months. Vexthal's mandibles clicked in confusion. We've only been in this system for 12 hours. Your advanced scouts arrived 8 months ago. Did you think we wouldn't notice ships in our outer system? Did you think we wouldn't prepare? The bridge erupted in frantic activity as the implications sank in. The humans had been watching them, learning from them, preparing for this moment for most of a standard year. Every tactical advantage the Empire thought they possessed had been neutralized before the first shot was fired. Sir! Cassera's voice carried urgent warning. The sixth wave is approaching. Massive energy signatures. These vessels are different. The tactical display showed a new type of human craft, larger and more complex than anything they'd seen before. These vessels move with purpose. Their approach vector is calculated to maximize impact with the resonance patterns their predecessors had created. Shield status: 94% and fluctuating, Zrendar reported. The harmonic patterns are destabilizing the entire grid. Can we recalibrate? Negative, sir. They're adapting to our recalibration attempts in real time. It's as if they're reading our shield modifications as we make them. The sixth wave struck with devastating precision. Each vessel detonated at the exact moment when the resonance patterns reached peak amplitude, sending shock waves through the shield grid that made the eternal dominion groan like a living thing in pain. Shield integrity at 87%, Zrendar reported, his voice tight with professional concern. Commander, Thane Dis called out. I'm detecting something from the planet's surface. Massive energy buildup. It's unlike anything in our databases. The main screen shifted to show Earth's surface, where brilliant light was beginning to emanate from installations across multiple continents. The light was wrong somehow, carrying wavelengths that made the optical filters struggle to process the image. What are they building? Vexthal whispered. I don't know, sir, but the energy output is approaching levels that should be impossible for their technology base. Chen's voice cut through the bridge's chaos with disturbing clarity. Commander, I wanted to give you one final chance to withdraw. Not because we're merciful, but because what happens next will echo across the galaxy. Every species that encounters humanity in the future will remember what happened here. You're threatening us with primitive weapons? I'm offering you the chance to leave with your fleet intact. Because in approximately 30 minutes, we're going to demonstrate what happens when humans are forced to defend themselves. The seventh wave arrived with the precision of a timepiece, and this time the impact sent visible ripples across the shield grid. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as harmonics began to build beyond safe parameters. Shield integrity at 78%, Zrendar reported. Sir, Yelnetha's voice carried terror. We're receiving communications from the other fleet elements. They're reporting similar harmonic buildups across all vessels. Vexthal felt the tactical situation shifting beneath his feet like sand. The humans weren't attacking individual ships. They were attacking the entire fleet simultaneously, using the Empire's own technology to turn their greatest advantage into their greatest vulnerability. How many more waves? Unknown, sir, but based on progression patterns, I estimate they can continue this assault for several more hours. The eighth wave brought vessels that seemed to glow with internal light, and their impact sent cascade failures through secondary systems throughout the fleet. For the first time in 300 years of conquest, Vexthal felt the cold touch of fear. Sir, Chen's voice carried a note of finality. That was our final warning. What happens next is no longer negotiable. The brilliant light building on Earth's surface reached critical intensity exactly 29 minutes after Chen's final transmission. From orbit, the planet looked like a star preparing to go nova, with points of impossible radiance scattered across every continent. The energy readings were so far beyond anything in the Kethvar databases that the sensor struggled to process the information. Thane Dis, what am I looking at? Vexthal demanded, his voice carrying the controlled panic of a commander who realized his fundamental assumptions about reality were crumbling. Sir, the energy output is approaching 10 to the 18th watts. That's star-level energy production from a single planet. It should be impossible. Should be? Commander, they're not using fusion. They're not using antimatter. The energy signature is completely unknown. It's as if they've discovered an entirely new form of power generation. The ninth wave of human vessels approached with geometric precision, but these craft were different from everything that had come before. They moved without engines, their hulls seeming to bend space around them in ways that violated every principle of physics the Empire understood. Sir, Zrendar's voice carried a hollow tone of someone watching his expertise become meaningless. Those vessels are manipulating space-time itself. They're not using propulsion. They're folding the universe. That's impossible. Space-time manipulation requires technology we've only theorized about. Tell that to the humans, sir. The impossible vessel struck the shield grid with impacts that sent shockwaves to the fabric of reality itself. The Eternal Dominion didn't just shudder, it rippled, its massive hull flexing in ways that solid matter shouldn't be able to move. Shield integrity at 61%, Zrendar reported, his voice cracking with strain. Sir, the harmonic patterns are reaching cascade failure. If this continues, the feedback loop will tear the fleet apart. Can we jump to hyperspace? Negative. The space-time distortions are preventing fold space activation. We're trapped in normal space. Vexthal felt the walls of tactical possibility closing around him. The humans had not only neutralized every advantage the Empire possessed, they had turned those advantages into weapons pointed at the heart of the Kethvar fleet. Communications. Give me fleet command. Emergency priority. Sir, hyperspace communications are down. The space-time distortions are interfering with quantum relay systems. Then we're on our own. Vexthal turned to study the tactical display, where the human vessels continued their impossible assault. Zrendar, full tactical analysis. What are our options? Sir, we can attempt to ram through the blockade at sublight speed. Casualties will be severe, but some vessels might escape. And if we stay, based on current degradation rates, complete shield failure in approximately 47 minutes. The 10th wave brought vessels that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their forms shifting and flowing like liquid metal given impossible purpose. When they struck the shields, the impact sent ripples through space-time that made the bridge's gravity systems fluctuate wildly. Commander, Thane Dis's voice carried wonder and terror in equal measure. I'm detecting something from the planet's surface. The energy signatures are converging. The main screen showed Earth beginning to glow with unified radiance, as if the entire planet was becoming a single massive weapon. The light was beautiful and terrible, carrying wavelengths that seemed to whisper directly to the observer's consciousness. What are they doing? Sir, they're turning their entire planet into a focusing array. Every installation, every city, every population center is becoming part of a single massive energy projection system. Energy projection? You mean they're building a weapon? Not building, sir. They've already built it. The entire planet is the weapon. A new transmission cut through the bridge's chaos. But this time it wasn't Secretary General Chun. The voice was different, older, carrying the weight of absolute authority. Commander Vexthal, this is Admiral Sarah Chun, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces. I am Secretary General Chen's daughter, and I have been given authorization to end this engagement. The woman who appeared on the screen was younger than her father, but carried the same disturbing calm. Behind her, massive displays showed energy readings that made the bridge system struggle to process the information. Admiral Chun, Vexthal managed, his voice carrying the hollow tone of someone who had watched the certainties crumble. What are you? We're human, Commander. We're the species that turned warfare into an art form. We're the people who learned to make the impossible routine. And we're the civilization that just spent 8 months preparing to demonstrate what happens when someone threatens our home. Your technology is impossible. Your energy output defies known physics. Your vessels manipulate space-time itself. Commander, do you know what humans do when the laws of physics get in our way? What? We rewrite them. The 11th wave brought vessels that seemed to exist outside normal space-time, their forms flickering between dimensions like thoughts made manifest. Their impact sent the eternal dominion tumbling through space as the shield grid began to collapse entirely. Shield integrity at 38%, Zrendar reported. Sir, we're approaching total system failure. Admiral Chun, Vexthal said, his voice carrying the desperate calm of someone making a final gambit. What do you want? I want you to understand something, Commander. Everything you've seen so far, every impossible technology we've demonstrated, every law of physics we've broken, all of it has been defensive. We've been holding back. Holding back. This entire engagement has been a warning shot. Commander, we wanted to give you a chance to leave peacefully. But if you stay, if you force us to defend ourselves, what happens next will be remembered for 10,000 years. The 12th wave approached with the inevitability of a natural disaster, and Vexthal realized with crystalline clarity that he was witnessing the end of everything he had believed about the nature of warfare itself. Admiral, he said quietly, that was a warning shot? Admiral, he said quietly, that was a warning shot? Admiral Sarah Chen's expression shifted, and for the first time since the engagement began, Vexthal saw something in the human's eyes that he recognized. The look of a warrior who had been pushed beyond the point of restraint. Commander, she said, her voice carrying the finality of a closing tomb. 12 hours ago, you gave us a choice between submission and annihilation. We chose a third option, which was evolution. The word hung in the air like a physical presence, and Vexthal felt his combat instinct scream warnings that came too late. Around the bridge, his officers worked frantically at stations that reported increasingly impossible readings. Sir, Thaindissa's voice carried a hollow tone of someone watching reality reshape itself. The energy signatures from Earth are converging into a single massive projection. The entire planet is becoming a unified weapon system. Output unknown, sir. The readings are beyond our instrument's ability to measure. The 13th wave never arrived. Instead, the human vessels that had been assaulting the fleet suddenly stopped, their forms stabilizing in perfect formation around the Kethvar ships. They hung in space like markers, defining the boundaries of something that was about to happen. Admiral Chun, Vexthal said, his voice carrying the desperate calm of someone making a final plea. Your species has demonstrated capabilities that defy everything we know about physics. You've turned our own technology against us. You've trapped us in normal space. What more do you want? I want you to understand something. Commander, Everything you've seen, every impossible technology we've demonstrated, every law of physics we've seemingly broken, none of it was impossible. We just refuse to accept the limitations your species takes for granted. That's not how science works. It's how human science works. We don't accept barriers. We don't acknowledge impossibilities. When the universe tells us something can't be done, we find a way to do it anyway. The energy building on Earth's surface reached levels that made the sensors shut down rather than attempt to process the information. The planet itself seemed to be transforming, becoming something that existed partially outside normal space-time. Sir, Yelnetha's voice carried terror. We're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Other species are detecting the energy signatures. They're asking what's happening in this system. What do you tell them? I don't know, sir. I don't have words for what we're witnessing. Admiral Chen's image flickered, but her voice remained steady. Commander, I'm going to tell you something that will save your species. Are you listening? Yes. Humanity spent 8 months preparing for this moment. We studied your technology, your tactics, your strategic doctrines. We learned everything about you. And then we did something your species has never experienced. What? We prepared for a war we had no intention of fighting. The brilliant light emanating from Earth suddenly focused, becoming a coherent beam that stretched across space toward the Kethvar fleet. But instead of destroying them, the beam simply touched the hull of each vessel, sending information directly into their computer systems. What is this? Vexthal demanded. This is the real warning, Commander. We're downloading the complete technical specifications for every weapon system we've demonstrated today. We're giving you the blueprint for technologies that could reshape galactic civilization. The bridge erupted in chaos as the alien system struggled to process the incoming data. Technical specifications for space-time manipulation, energy projection systems, matter conversion technologies, advances that represented centuries of theoretical development, flooded into the ship's databases. Why? Vexthal whispered. Because we want every species in the galaxy to understand what happens when you threaten humanity. We want them to know that the next species that approaches Earth with conquest in mind will face not just us, but everyone we've shared this technology with. You're weaponizing the entire galaxy. We're democratizing it. Every species that receives this data will have the tools to defend themselves against anyone who tries to conquer them, including you. The energy beam intensified, and suddenly Vexthal could see beyond the confines of his own ship. The beam wasn't just targeting the Kethvar fleet. It was reaching across the galaxy, touching every inhabited world, every space station, every species that had ever fallen under the Empire's dominion. Commander, Admiral Chen's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. The age of conquest is over. From this moment forward, every species in the galaxy will have the tools to defend themselves. Your empire will find nothing but equals wherever you go. This is impossible. You can't change the balance of power across the entire galaxy. We just did. The download completed and the energy beam faded, leaving the Kethvar fleet hanging in space around a planet that had just transformed the nature of galactic civilization itself. The tactical displays showed systems coming online that the Empire's engineers would have considered theoretical impossibilities. Sir, Zrendar's voice carried stunned amazement. We're receiving communications from across the Empire. Every world, every colony, every conquered species, they all have the same technologies now. What are they saying? They're declaring independence, sir. All of them. Vexthal felt the weight of 3 centuries of conquest crumble into meaningless dust. The empire that stretched across 1,000 worlds was dissolving in real time, its subject species suddenly possessing the tools to defend themselves against their former masters. Admiral Chun, he said, his voice carrying the hollow tone of someone whose entire purpose had just been rendered obsolete. What have you done? We've leveled the playing field. Commander, from now on, every species in the galaxy will have the tools to defend themselves. Your empire is finished, not because we destroyed it, but because we made it irrelevant. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as its own systems began to change, adapting to the new technologies flooding through its databases. Around the bridge, Displays showed star charts updating in real time as former Imperial colonies declared independence and began broadcasting their own defensive capabilities. Sir, Kessera's voice carried the stunned tone of someone watching history reshape itself. We're receiving a priority transmission from the Imperial capital. The Emperor is requesting immediate withdrawal of all fleet assets. The Emperor? Sir, the capital world is under siege, not from external forces, but from the populations we conquered. They're using the human technologies to break free from our control. Vexthal closed his eyes, feeling the weight of inevitability settle on his shoulders. The humans hadn't just defeated the Kethvar Empire. They had made the very concept of empire obsolete. Admiral Chun, he said quietly, your species has just changed the course of galactic history. No, Commander. We've just given everyone else the tools to write their own history. What they do with those tools is up to them. The communication ended, leaving the bridge in profound silence. Around them, the human vessels began to withdraw, their impossible forms fading back toward Earth with the casual confidence of a species that had just redefined the nature of interstellar relations. Sir, Zrendar asked, his voice carrying the lost tone of a warrior whose war had ended before it began. What are your orders? Vexthal looked at the tactical display, where the remnants of the greatest military force in galactic history hung powerless around a small blue world that had just changed everything. The age of conquest was over, ended not by superior firepower, but by a species that had refused to accept the limitations of physics itself. Set course for Imperial space, he said finally, and prepare a report for the Emperor. Tell him that we encountered a species that fights wars by making them impossible. Sir, tell him that was a warning shot. The Eternal Dominion began its long journey home, carrying with it the news that the galaxy would never be the same. Behind them, Earth continued its rotation, its human inhabitants having spent 12 hours demonstrating that the most dangerous enemy isn't the one who fights you, it's the one who makes fighting pointless. In the years that followed, the galaxy would remember the day that humanity chose evolution over warfare, knowledge over conquest, and cooperation over domination. The Kethvar Empire would become a footnote in history, remembered not for its conquests, but for being the last empire to learn that some species don't fight wars. They transcend them. And in the depths of space, the energy signatures of impossible technologies continue to spread, carried by species that have learned the most human lesson of all. When the universe tells you something is impossible, the correct response is to prove it wrong. # that was a warning shot. Last words of the alien commander.